AITA for not wanting to invite my nephews to my wedding while having my niece there as a bridesmaid? My partner 33M and I 32F have just got engaged, woo. We've been together a very long time, and have always said we wouldn't have children at our wedding when the time came. We've been to countless weddings, where little kids have screamed hysterically throughout the ceremony, they've ruined the speeches, they've been bored so have acted out etc. and just generally disrupted things. They're not necessarily doing anything wrong, they're just being kids, but, in our opinion, and years of experience. Weddings just aren't fun for children, so we've been firm and clear for a very long time that our wedding will be child-free. The problem is, I thought we'd have got married years ago when my niece was really tiny, and would have been unaware of what was going on so she wouldn't have felt like she wasn't included. Finance and general life woes means we've only just got engaged, and by the time we marry, my niece will be 10 years old, so I feel very differently about her being there. She's very sweet, sensible and mature for her age, and we're really close. Her little brothers will be 4 and 2 years old by the time the wedding rolls around. They're beautiful boys but obviously significantly younger, and there's a world of difference in children's behavior and their patience levels at 10 years old versus 4 years old and 2 years old. Before my fiancé proposed, I told my mom I'd love my niece, let's call her Tilly, to be a bridesmaid, much to my mom's delight, BC if we were to ever marry. Tilly would be at least 10 years old. She's 8 currently, and we'd need a few years to save up. When Tilly found out I was finally engaged, she was super excited and talking about the wedding and seeing me in my dress, so I felt really happy at the thought of asking her to be a bridesmaid once planning gets underway. I mentioned it to my brother, but he said he and my sil wouldn't allow Tilly to go to the wedding if her brothers weren't also invited. He said either all 3 of them go or none of them do to keep it fair. I said it would be different having Tilly there BC. She'd be 10 years old, and she'd be there in the capacity of a bridesmaid, so it wouldn't be comparable to having my nephews there as wedding guests. My nephews will be too young to understand what's going on. They could have a fun weekend with their grandparents, my sil's parents, while Tilly could stay at the venue the night before with me, and get ready with me and my other bridesmaids in the morning. My mom already said she'd be happy to look after Tilly to give my brother and sil a break so they could let their hair down at the wedding. Before we knew they were so opposed to the situation. Tilly will absolutely remember not being invited to my wedding, my nephews will not. I was a bridesmaid when I was 5 years old and have literally no memory of it. I don't think they're looking at the big picture and seeing how it's an entirely different situation, and my nephews are much younger and at different stages developmentally. They won't be able to guarantee they won't cry or scream or get restless and agitated during the important bits of the day, and that's the reason we don't want any children there. Tilly would be the one exception to the rule, and as she'd be a bridesmaid, it would be obvious why she'd be the only child there. I feel their idea of fair will actually really affect Tilly and upset her, whereas my nephews won't know what's gone on. I should probably also mention Tilly has a different mom to my nephews, so she's not with her brothers every weekend, so it wouldn't be weird for my nephews to be at their grandparents without Tilly. BC. Those grandparents aren't Tilly's grandparents. We didn't get fully into it, BC. It felt a bit awkward, and we obviously disagree with each other, so we just left it. But we're going to have to discuss it at a later date. I would love Tilly to be a bridesmaid, and I'd be mortified if she felt left out, or like I didn't want her there. I know for a fact she'll remember not being allowed to go, but my nephews won't have any idea. My nephews obviously live with my brother and sil full time, whereas Tilly doesn't, and get to do all sorts with them just as a 4. So I don't see why Tilly being allowed somewhere on her own for a change is that big of a deal. I also think there's a big difference between a child being part of the wedding party versus just being there as a guest. Sorry for the essay, but we all know the internet is the place to pass judgment on strangers. So I wanted to gauge the opinions of people who don't know either of us to see what the common consensus is. So, AITA for wanting my niece to be a bridesmaid while my nephews wouldn't be invited to the wedding?
For the most part, the comments section has found OP to not be an a-hole. Many acknowledge a 10-year-old is very different from toddlers, thus agreeing with OP's logic. Many also point out that children within the bridal party are always the exception to a child-free policy. Though many say she's in a hole for telling the niece before receiving approval from the parents. Though OP corrects them by explaining she only told her niece she was getting married and the rest was assumptions made on her niece's part. Several also caution OP as they feel this will tear her family apart. This is Petty Honest signing off for now. Meow. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. Don't forget to leave your honest thoughts in the comment section below. We love a good juicy thought.